Technically, I saved your life, took care of you all night. Maybe you'd like to take care of me all night in another way, huh? Hello, and welcome to Bajo Las Rosas. This is a Yandere dating sim in which you meet your strange neighbor who breaks into your home to save you after you injure yourself one night. He seems really nice, but can you really trust him? Let's get started. Day 1. Germ of Desire. I loved my home, not just for the happy memories I built there, but for the way it seemed to embrace me with its love at every corner. Every step I took, every corner, every rose, it spoke to me of love. But no matter how much I loved it, no matter how much I wished to stay forever, no matter how many times I told it day after day how much I cared, it seems it was never enough. Funny, isn't it? In fairy tales, they always talk to each other about happily ever after, but no one ever tells you that forever is actually very short. Well, I suppose it doesn't matter anymore. What matters is that I took it with me. That's interesting, because no matter where I go, my home has always lived here. That's a really nice sentiment though, and that means I can create something just as beautiful, maybe even better. Isn't that right, Pud? I think the most concerning thing is that I've been here for over 2 weeks and I still haven't finished unpacking. That is such a mood though. I know it's not the same, but whenever I come back from a holiday, I do not unpack my suitcase for a very long time. The space is much smaller than what I was used to in my old house, and between one thing and another, I always end up watching videos for at least 3 hours. Alright, I knelt in front of the couple of boxes big enough to fit a person inside, and started rummaging through their contents for what must have been the 100th time. Kitchen, gone. Where the hell did I put them? I've been eating with plastic cutlery because I can't remember where I packed the real ones. Cutlery 1, me 0. That is also very real. That's what I did when I first moved into my apartment. What a mess I am. But if I'm gonna start over, it has to be perfect. I stop for a moment to look at the chaos around me, and on top of one of the boxes I spot a yellow envelope. The apartment paperwork, the one I was supposed to turn in about 3 days ago. I searched for a pen, pulled the paper out of the envelope and started inspecting the fields looking for the ones I had yet to fill out. What is my name? Yinny. What are your pronouns? She, her. Carefully I packed it back and left it on the table so I wouldn't forget to drop it off tomorrow. There I turned my attention back to the place. The apartment itself looked nice enough, but seeing it so empty filled me with unease. My eyes scanned the room, wondering which box to dig into next until they landed on the imposing sliding door in the corner. Who would have thought? An apartment with a garden. Yeah, honestly, that is not something that you find often. At least, like, not in Australia anyway. Like, townhouses, maybe? But, like, apartments with gardens, I don't know. I don't think I've ever really seen that. Hi, Puddington von Pud. I love you too. Would you like to sit back down so everybody can see your little face? I didn't even know those existed. I always thought apartments were designed to squeeze every last inch of space. Or squeeze every last inch of something else. Isn't that right, Pud? Suddenly, a loud noise broke my train of thought. From the ceiling, a series of heavy, continuous thuds rang out, like someone was playing baseball, testing how many hits it would take to break the ceramic floor. I sighed, slightly annoyed. I really would have preferred getting a house, but time was breathing down my neck, and I didn't have the luxury to look for something better. My eyes drifted back to the glass door leading to the patio, and then an idea struck me. Oh, I got it! So that's what was missing. I carefully maneuvered through the scattered mess on the floor, as if navigating an improvised parkour course. Unlike those damn cutlery pieces, I knew exactly where to find what I needed to make this place feel like home. I reached one of the more isolated boxes, one that looked different from the rest. I grabbed it carefully and sat down on the floor, peeling off the tape with the same delicacy as unwrapping a precious gift. And there they were, wrapped in plastic and cushioned by colorful damp towels, a bouquet of red roses, roots and all. So beautiful and so perfect that just looking at them felt intoxicating. Do they say intact during the move, girl? Who are your movers? I would like to hire them. I felt my heart grow lighter. The roses were truly important to me. I lifted the bouquet with the utmost care as if holding a multi-million-dollar painting. The wrapping crinkled under my fingers as I peeled back layer after layer, like an artist undressing its muse. But something made me freeze. Something was wrong. A sour smell invaded my nose. I felt my body tense, my skin prickling. With the bouquet fully unwrapped, I pushed aside a few roses until I reached the bottom. Uh-oh. And there it was. A completely rotten rose. No. In desperation, I started plucking away the damaged petals. One by one, they fell to the floor, but the more I tried to save it, the faster it seemed to decay before my eyes. Oh no! As if it was desperately trying to escape me. I really like the horror undertone so far, especially with like floral imagery, because I am a very, very big fan of floral imagery. And like floral imagery plus horror is always a massive treat. At last, only the bare stem remained in my hand. Tears began falling before I even realized it. I clenched the stem so tightly that the thorns pierced my skin. but the physical pain was nothing compared to the agony of seeing my beloved rose dead. I shot to my feet, still gripping the stem. A loud buzzing echoed in my head, making me stumble and nearly fall. I felt my body temperature rising rapidly, my vision blurred with tears and my jaw trembled violently as if about to shatter. With every passing second, breathing became harder. This isn't my fault. I took care of you. I did everything right so you'd stay with me forever. You can't do this to me. You can't pay me back like this after everything I've done for you. Okay, I sense that we have some issues that we need to work through. The stem slipped from between my fingers, falling to the ground. My body trembled uncontrollably. A thick red haze clouded my thoughts and the air grew heavy. Breathing hurt. Each inhale felt like sharp knives diving into my chest. I began pacing desperately, knocking over everything in my path. Damn it! I slammed hard against the wall. I turned and grabbed it with my bloodied hands and... Oh no, what happened? A metallic scent filled the air. Uh-oh. I felt a deep pain consuming me, slowly spreading through my entire body, like a vicious mass trying to bury me alive. Buried alive? I hope that never really happened. What is that? Slowly, a soft scent began to surround me. Sweet, but not too much. Somehow familiar. I'm sorry, I farted. The smell. I frowned trying to place it. It reminds me of something. Something warm and joyful. I opened my eyes with difficulty. I brought a hand to my forehead and blinked several times trying to collect my thoughts. What the hell happened? I looked around. I recognized the bed, the walls, even the small table by the window. It was my room. How convenient, since I definitely didn't leave it this tidy. It's a really nice room. It's very pink and cute. The curtains were up, slightly parted, letting in just enough light without hitting my face directly. The furniture I had left stacked against the door was now neatly arranged and perfectly aligned. Even the decorations I had scattered all over the floor were now carefully placed. And for some reason, everything was arranged exactly like my room in my old house. Okay, less wholesome, more creepy. On top of that, I noticed I was tucked in perfectly under my blankets, wrapped with meticulous care. I don't remember lying down here. As my gaze wandered across the room, something caught my attention. The amount of light filtering through the curtain looked like it was daytime. The last time I was conscious, it was early at night. Oh no, how long have I been asleep? I tried to sit up, but my body didn't respond and gravity pulled me back against the mattress. Damn it, everything hurts. I lifted my trembling hand to my forehead and noticed a strip of fabric placed there. Is this a bandage? I looked at my other hand. It was also wrapped, carefully and precisely. What is this? Suddenly I heard a faint noise on the other side of the door, like someone pacing back and forth. Wait, someone? Is someone in my apartment? How the hell did someone get in? Is that why everything looks so organized? For a moment my mind went completely blank as I thought about that last part again. Everything organized. Get up or stay in bed? Get up. With superhuman effort I managed to get out of bed. I carefully approached the door and pressed my ear against the cold wood. Silence. I slowly opened the door, praying that my bad luck wouldn't strike at this exact moment and make it creak like a demon. Everything is fine. Suddenly I heard footsteps approaching me from behind. Oh no, this is it for me. I spun around, ready to face my fate, because if I was going to die, I at least wanted to see it coming. Hey, Yuri, I'm sure I'll see something else coming later. Oh, you're so cute. I love his hair. Instinctively, I took the first defensive stance that came to mind. But no knife, no gun. He's not going to kill me. Though he doesn't really look like a thief either. Sorry, I didn't mean to scare you. I'm glad you woke up. I was starting to get worried. His voice was soft and calm with a tranquility that completely threw me off. How could he say that when a stranger had just broken into my apartment? I felt my panic rising, my face turning pale. I quickly stepped back, careful not to trip over anything. What? Who are you? What are you doing in my apartment? How did you even get in? Without taking my eyes off him, I fumbled behind for something. Anything I could use to defend myself from this lunatic. My hands hit something sharp. I grabbed it tightly and pointed it straight at him. Are you kidding me? A plastic fork. Kill me. I clenched the fork tightly as I could, trying to hide the trembling in my hands. I can't let this guy know that I'm scared. I don't want to end up with some cheap news channel as the headlines sliced up in our own apartment. But to my surprise, the guy didn't react at all. No stepping back, no sudden movements. He simply lowered his gaze to my weapon. I saw him bite his lip, clearly trying to suppress a smile. Were you planning to stab me or invite me to dinner? I don't know if I should feel offended or completely humiliated. Is this normal for him, breaking into strangers' homes? Seriously, sorry. To be honest, I only thought of a few ways to explain myself. But I have to admit, your excellent attack wasn't in any of the possible scenarios I had imagined. You surprised me. The guy watches me for a few moments, his body tensed slightly. He took a step back, and his expression softened. Maybe he realized I was on the verge of losing my nerves. Hey, relax. I'm not here to hurt you. Actually, I'm the one who should be scared of you and that dangerous fork. Cut the jokes. You're not answering my question. Who are you? And how did you get in here? He fell silent for a few seconds, staring at me intently. I understand this must be really strange for you. And I promise I can explain everything, okay? But first, are you sure you're okay? He reached out towards the bandage on my forehead but stopped halfway and simply pointed to his own. You hit your head pretty bad. Suddenly, I noticed a faint stinging in my hands and the pressure in my head. I remember the bandages covering my hands, along with the piece of gauze on my forehead. You... Don't push yourself. You're in pretty bad shape when I found you, and I thought you wouldn't wake up so soon. I stayed silent, trying to process it. So he was the one who bandaged me. Sorry, I know it's a lot to take in at once, but seriously, how do you feel? A headache? Dizziness? Do you want me to change your bandages? His voice had a calmness that completely disarmed me, though I couldn't decide whether it was reassuring or unsettling. And his eyes. His eyes look so familiar. His eyes are gorgeous. Where have I seen them before? I'm fine, I think. I said it more out of instinct than certainty. My body still felt heavy, but I didn't want to give him any more reasons to stay. Are you sure? Because when I saw you... He paused as if choosing his words carefully, and I noticed him spinning the silver rings on his fingers. I live in the tower across the street. I was passing by when I heard a loud thud. I didn't really care at first, but then the smell of blood started coming from your apartment. You must have a really sensitive nose. I knocked to ask if everything was okay, but no one answered. And then the door just opened on its own. And there you were. He gestured to the floor near the couch. After making sure I had looked where he was pointing, he crossed his arms. Believe me, breaking into houses for fun isn't really my thing. I frowned. Did I really leave the door open? I am not the type of person to leave the door open. I mean, it's not such a crazy idea. With how absent-minded I am, I wouldn't be surprised if I also left the stove on. Okay, maybe I have done that before because good old ADHD. I shook my head, trying to focus on what actually mattered. That still doesn't explain why you decided to stay. The reddish eyes stared at me in disbelief, like I was the one not making sense. Alright, let's look at it this way. Would it have made more sense for me to find someone bleeding on the floor and not try to help? I hate to admit it, but he definitely has a good point. Leaving you alone seemed like a bad idea. Plus, I wanted to make sure you were completely okay. Now I see now you're prepared for any emergency with that. But hey, in critical situations, creativity is key. Points for you. I lowered my gaze to my hands, which were gripping the floor. I was starting to feel a little guilty. He helped me and I was just attacking him, yes, with a plastic spork. I sighed and finally let go of the plastic fork, placing it back on the table where I grabbed it from. Alright, I believe you. I looked around curiously. But why is everything so neat? I definitely didn't leave it like this. The guy tensed for a moment and simply shrugged. While I was waiting for you to wake up, I picked up a little thing and put it in its place. And another and then another, and let's just say I got a little carried away. His tone grew a bit sheepish and he started glancing around as if he wasn't fully aware of how much he had tidied up. He shook his head and quickly returned to his usual relaxed demeanor. But you have to admit, this place needed some fixing. It honestly looked more like a battlefield than an apartment. Okay, alright, you don't have to talk about my apartment that way. So what? If it's a little cluttered, at least it's not dirty. Even your poor bed, overflowing with clothes, wasn't spared. Alright, I have to admit I appreciate that. Not every day does someone break into your apartment and clean it for free. At that moment, my thoughts came to a screeching halt as I started scanning the room with growing anxiety. Hey, where are my roses? Your roses? Yeah, I had a beautiful bouquet of red roses. They were... I quickly looked towards the spot on the floor where I had left them last night, but they were gone. My chest tightened. I looked at him with pleading desperation. I was definitely going to pass out again. For a moment, his expression changed, and he hesitated slightly, but then he quickly returned to his usual tone. Yeah. He gestured towards the kitchen door. He left them scattered everywhere. But surprisingly, they were still in decent shape. They just lost a few petals and... He seemed like he wanted to say something else but stopped himself, though I could already guessed. It was probably about the blood-stained budless stem left on the floor. I picked them up and put them in water. I let out a breath, feeling my heart settle back into its normal rhythm. There was a slight discomfort knowing that someone else had touched something so important to me. But I was grateful that at least most of them had been saved. They're really beautiful. Did you grow them yourself? Yeah, I love roses. That wasn't entirely true. Well, not 100%. Loving them isn't enough. It's such a tiny, insignificant word compared to what I feel for them. Saying only that would be like looking at a star and calling it pretty. It doesn't do it justice. Saying I love them and leaving it at that feels far too shallow. But obviously I wasn't about to tell my entire life story about roses to a complete stranger, so I just looked away. That's interesting. I wonder what my, affinity to roses is. I see. You know, not everyone has the dedication to create and care for something this beautiful. You're really talented. Oh, thank you. You're so cute. His words caught me off guard. I felt a faint warmth creeping up my cheeks and quickly averted my gaze. I guess. I tried to sound indifferent, but that was definitely not my strong suit. Before I could respond, I hurried to change the subject. Alright, I guess I owe you a thank you. If you hadn't shown up, I probably would have ended up with an infection. Or just kept lying there bleeding out. Oh, was that a thank you? I didn't quite hear it. Could you say it again? Regret. Complete and utter regret. I shot him a death glare. Alright, I'm sorry. You're welcome. His smile shines, and that faint flush on his cheek feels familiar. For a second, that warmth takes me to a place I thought I had lost forever. Do I know him? I mean, I sure hope I do. Look at him. I shook my head to clear those thoughts. This is definitely not the right time to get nostalgic. Do you want something to drink? I mean, I don't have much, but there's water and some soda. I started walking towards the kitchen, passing by him. No need. Don't trouble yourself with that. Actually, let me make you something to eat. You must be starving. Oh, he cleans and he cooks? How do you know? Are you really surprised? He took a step towards me, keeping a respectful distance. You've been sleeping since early last night. At least, I don't know, more than 15 hours. So I doubt you last much longer without eating something. He leaned slightly towards me, just close enough to get a better look at my face. Besides, ever since you woke up, you've been getting paler and paler. It's not too obvious, but it's noticeable. Oh, thanks. Thanks for poking at my complexion. And it's easy to tell when someone has less energy than usual. Well, we got ourselves a Mr. Observant here. Wait, than usual. But don't worry, I won't let you starve. Elaborate by what you mean by than usual? Do I know you? It's not that bad, I'm fine. He didn't respond. He just kept looking at my face for a few more silent seconds. Could I at least get your name? It's kind of uncomfortable, to be honest. However, his unwavering gaze also gives me a chance to observe his face more closely. I hadn't thought about it before. But if it was already daytime, that meant he had been taking care of me all night. Yet despite that, he didn't look tired at all. Though maybe it was because of his flawless red makeup. Without another word, he stepped away and walked towards the fridge, slipping off his silver rings. Alright, I'll take care of it. Take care of what? Making you something to eat. If you don't eat, you'll feel worse. If you feel worse, I'll worry. If I worry, I won't leave. Though honestly, I wouldn't mind looking after you again as long as I don't have to clean up blood next time. I rolled my eyes as he opened the fridge, scanning its contents quickly. Wait, you don't have to do this. Seriously, I'm fine. You know, it's not about whether I have to do it, it's that I want to. And you won't stop me until I see that you've eaten something decent. So, what do you like to eat? And don't you dare say nothing. What if I say anything's fine? He threw me an amused glance over his shoulder, a barely concealed smile on his lips. Alright, suit yourself. I'll make whatever I want. Great, I basically just signed a contract without reading the fine print. I sighed but didn't argue any further. Meanwhile, the guy moved around the kitchen with impressive skill and speed. It was like watching a live cooking competition on TV, like Shokugeki no Soma, except without the hysterical screams of the audience. Every knife cut was precise. The way he sauteed the ingredients was flawless, and he even seemed to know all the measurements by heart. I wanted to ask if I could help with something, but seeing his pace, I would definitely just get in the way. With nothing else to do, I leaned against the counter and watched him in silence. Hey! He paused for a moment, turning his head towards me with curiosity. It just hit me. I don't even know his name. I don't know his name, and I'm already letting him cook me lunch. What kind of medieval servitude is this? He tilted his head slightly, a playful expression crossing his face as he noticed my bewilderment. He's so cute. Look at him. Rin. My name is Rin. Nice to meet you, Pookie. What now? What? What's wrong? Surprised that we're close enough for nicknames. What do you mean close enough? We don't even know each other that well. I don't know. Technically, I saved your life. Took care of you all night. And now I'm making you lunch. Took care of me all night. Maybe you'd like to take care of me all night in another way, huh? If you think about it, we've already passed several important stages. Stages of what? Our future marriage, obviously. Oh my god, I did not know this, but he's got a tongue piercing. What? No, that's not obvious at all. That's not how relationships work. So how much time do you need to accept that I'm the love of your life? 1 more day? 2? 0. I need 0 days for that. Well, we'll see about that, dear denial-ridden partner. I feel like he's serious. He's not joking. He really seems to find everything amusing, and I find his eyes very pretty. Apparently, I'm part of that everything too. Alright, back to what really matters. Feeding the damsel in distress. I'm not a damsel in distress. Oh, you're not? Well then I guess I'll just keep calling you Pookie. I crossed my arms, puffing my cheeks slightly. He let out another laugh, clearly amused by my indignation, before turning his attention back to the food. A few minutes later, the warm aroma of freshly cooked food filled the room. It smelled really good. Rin turned back to me, placing a plate of food and a glass of deep purple juice on the table beside me. Oh, that looks so good. I love food art. Oh, it's so cute. I leaned in closer to the plate, taking in every little detail. Not only did it smell amazing, but it also looked adorable. Eating it almost felt like a crime. The comforting scent of warm food hit me all at once. It's been so long since anyone has cooked for me. I eagerly sat down to try it. When did you learn to make this? I used to cook for the kids in an orphanage. They loved when I made little shapes with their food. You seem really sweet, but there is definitely something going on with you under the surface. I do like it though. Sometimes I'd even start making up stories and playing instead of eating, so lunchtime turned into playtime whenever I cooked. Absentmindedly, he spun one of his rings around his finger. When did he put those back on? I got scolded a few times for it, but it was worth it just to see them happy. He fell silent for a moment, staring at the table. Then, after blinking a couple of times, he seemed to realize that he shared something quite personal. But he just smiled, slipping back into his usual attitude. Although honestly, my best ones were the rice bunnies. They're easier than other shapes, and besides, they're super cute, don't you think? Is he trying to change the subject while staying on the same topic? Oh, so you worked at an orphanage, huh? It's obvious you cared a lot. Rin? Yeah. Something like that. Okay, weird, odd. He didn't look me in the eyes, but it was clear that he didn't want to talk about it any further. I didn't want to make him uncomfortable either, so I just focused on my food. I took a bite, and as soon as the flavor spread across my palate, my eyes widened in astonishment. This is amazing! The fluffy texture of the rice contrasted perfectly with the softness of the vegetables. There was a perfect balance between sweet and savory with a hint of spices that gave it a comforting, almost familiar taste. It was warm and homey. It was something I couldn't quite describe, but it felt like a hug in the form of food. Rin chuckled at my exaggerated reaction, and then leaned against the counter with his arms crossed, watching me as I continued enjoying my meal. For a few minutes, everything felt peaceful. The atmosphere was incredibly comfortable, almost like we had known each other much longer than we actually had. I bet we have known each other for much longer than we actually had. As I kept eating, savoring every bite, a strange feeling washed over me. Oh no. Warmth. But it wasn't just from the food, it came from him. Are you in heat? Are you an omega? It was happiness. But not the shallow kind. It was the kind of joy that fills the deepest part of your heart. The kind a child feels when they come home after a long day and find someone waiting for them with open arms. And that's when I realized I had felt this before. This exact warmth. The same sense of security. Like I was exactly where I was supposed to be. Where I'd always meant to be. I tried to grasp the memory, to hold on to that lost fragment, but it was like trying to catch sand with my fingers. Frustrated, I closed my eyes for a moment. Have we met before? The question slipped out in a whisper before I even realized it. Thankfully, Rin didn't seem to hear me. I shook my head. Maybe I'm just imagining things. No, we have absolutely met before. Yeah, that had to be it. And I feel like he's followed you here. Rin's phone vibrated against the counter. He picked it up and turned on the screen. For a moment, he seemed to hold his breath and the warmth in his eyes dulled. Rin? He stared at the message for a second longer before exhaling slowly. Sorry. He slipped the phone into his pocket and looked at me. I have to go. So suddenly, Rin nodded, glancing away for an instant before looking back at me with his usual smile. Though this time something about it felt different. You know, despite how all of this turned out, I'm really glad I met you. He didn't give me a chance to respond before he started walking towards the kitchen door. Right before crossing through, he turned back and raised a hand in a casual wave. Without another word, he left. The door shut behind him and I heard his footsteps head towards the main exit, until finally the sound of the front door closing echoed throughout the space. I stayed there in silence, still a little unsettled by his sudden departure. Thanks for playing. Day 2 is still in development and will be available in September. If you like the project and want to support it, any donation, no matter how small, will be greatly appreciated. Alright, I'm gonna try and see if there's any branching paths that we can have a look at. Because the demo does say that there are 3 CGs. So I'm assuming that I'm missing some parts. Alright, let's see if we can get anything different. So this time, instead of getting up, I'm gonna stay in bed. Fear and anxiety took hold of me, freezing me in place. My heart pounded wildly, just like how Rin will pound me wildly later, ayo. As if it was about to burst out of my chest at any second. A sudden dizziness washed over me and my whole body went stiff. Just like how Rin is gonna go, shut. Come on, Yiddy. What the hell am I supposed to do? Does he want money? Or maybe he just wants to get rid of me. After everything I've done, I'm honestly surprised they haven't locked me up before. What? I feel like we're getting backstory about the MC here. Should I go and defend myself when I have nothing to fight with? That would be like walking straight into the lion's den. 1,000 different scenarios raced through my mind. Every single one of them ended with me dead. My cat is yelling at me. May I help you, my favorite freeloader? Oh my god. Well, as we can see, Puddles is back. 1,000 different scenarios raced through my mind. Every single one of them ended with me dead. In the end, I chose to stay silent, listening intently to every noise, clinging to the faint hope that whoever was in my apartment would just leave, because if they hadn't done anything to me yet, there had to be a reason. It felt like hours had passed, though I couldn't really tell. I was too afraid to even move, scared that they'd hear me, that they'd realize I was awake and come for me. The footsteps continued for a while longer, and then finally, thank God I heard the front door close. What are you doing? Oh dear. Did he actually leave? I shot out of bed and ran as fast as I could to the front door. My hands were trembling so badly that it took me a few tries to lock it properly, but I managed. I let out a sigh as my legs gave out, leaving me on the floor. I leaned against the door, trying to steady my breathing. I think I would have preferred the lion. Once my vision cleared again, I finally noticed it. What? Why is the living room cleaned up too? Still a little dizzy, I carefully stood up and made my way towards the table. There's a note. I'm sorry if this feels weird. I know waking up to a note from a stranger in your apartment isn't exactly pleasant. I found you unconscious and bleeding on the floor, so I let myself in to help. I cleaned up a little and tidied the place so you'd be more comfortable when you wake up. I also made you something to eat. I don't know what you like, but I hope it's enough to help you regain some energy. I understand this might feel like an invasion, and I apologize if it does, but I couldn't just ignore you in that state. By the way, I'm Rin. I live in the tower across from yours, so if you need anything, just let me know. I'll be keeping an eye on you. Get some rest and take care. Oh, he is definitely keeping an eye on us. I feel like he's already been keeping an eye on us. Clever. I didn't want to admit it, but his excuse made a lot of sense. Looking around, nothing really seemed to be missing. But it was strange. Everything was set up exactly the way I used to organize my old place. Could it just be a coincidence? Maybe we just have the same taste in decor. Yeah, that had to be it. No, Edie. We played enough Yandere games to know by now. I better not overthink it. It's probably best if you overthink a little. Even if I wanted to, I couldn't come up with a more logical answer. Okay, you know what? Fair. And the warm aroma of freshly made food hit me as soon as I stepped into the kitchen. It smells good. On the counter there was a plate of food. Next to it, one of my vases. Inside, carefully placed in water, were my beloved roses. And despite everything that had happened, they looked perfect. My gaze drifted back to the plate of food. Oh, it's so cute. This is so cute. Does he think I'm still a kid, or is this just how he normally cooks? I stared at the food for a moment, and before I even realized, my eyes stung with unshed tears, a lump forming in my throat. It's been a long time since anyone has ever cooked for me. The taste was warm and comforting, like a hug in the form of food. Felt like happiness in the shape of a meal. This feeling, it was so familiar. I closed my eyes, trying to dig deep into my mind, searching for the memory that brought me so much warmth. What's good? What's wrong? My hands were freezing. The tip of my nose had turned red. Everything was blurry, though I wasn't sure if it was because of the winter cold or the tears I refused to let fall. Today hadn't been a good day. I didn't want to go home like this. Didn't want Mom to see me like this. She'd probably just get mad at me. So I came here. Here, everyone is kind, warm, and full of light and love. Love that they have no envy in sharing as long as it makes you happy. Or at least that's what he always told me. I sighed, watching the mist of my breath rise into the frigid air. It didn't take long for him to find me. As always, he knew exactly where I'd be. Yinny, now there you are. The calm voice made me crumble. Just hearing him was enough to make me feel at home. He walked over without hesitation, and before I could say anything, he slid his white scarf around my neck. Your hands are freezing, he murmured, taking my fingers in his and rubbing them gently. How long have you been out here? It's too cold, you get sick at this rate. I could see the concern in his eyes, through my messy hair. I didn't respond, I just lowered my gaze, focused on the warmth of his hands around mine. You don't have to tell me what happened if you don't want to. I don't like seeing you like this. The warmth in his voice and the tenderness, it only made it harder to hold back my tears. Oh, I'm pretty sure that's baby Rin. You know, no matter how hard your day has been, you should never let anyone take away your beautiful smile. And if you ever feel like crying, let it be only for what's truly worth it. Because no one, not even me, deserves to be the center of your pain. You're stronger than you think. You just get lost in the noise of your thoughts. I'm not. Yes, you are. You're strong. You're brilliant. And even if you sometimes forget, I never will. So no matter what happens, I'll stay by your side to remind you as many times as necessary. His hands tightened around mine, as if trying to anchor me to reality, to him. And for a moment, the world didn't feel so cold. Aww. Alright, so that is the end of this route for day 2. There is still one other CG that we haven't gotten yet, and I'm curious to see which one it is. Alright, so the one that we got was the 3rd CG, so that's telling me that the second one is in the alternate path of the first route that we were doing, so let's go check it out. Okay, so we made it back to this choice. Last time we said that he definitely has a good point. This time I think we should try and see what happens when we tell him to leave. I guess I should thank you, but I don't think you should stay here. He blinked a couple of times at my response, but instead of getting upset, he just tilted his head slightly as if considering something. Fair enough. I don't blame you for being cautious. It's not every day you wake up with a stranger in your home. There wasn't a hint of anger or sarcasm in his voice. In fact, he sounded understanding. I won't stay here if you don't want me to. Especially if my presence makes you uncomfortable, but before kicking me out, at least let me change your bandage. If it gets infected and you end up losing an arm, I'd feel guilty. I promise I don't bite. What if I'd like you to? Fine, but make it quick. As you command. Ooh, as I command? Are you into that? He made me sit on the couch, picked up the bandages and the first aid kit from the table and walked towards me with an easygoing stride. Sorry, this might sting a little. It's fine, don't worry about it. The guy knelt on the floor in front of me and reached out his hands, silently asking for mine. If I didn't know the context, I'd swear this was a scene straight out of a romance movie, with the prince asking for his beloved's hand. I really need to stop watching too much TV. Feeling a bit embarrassed, I looked away and placed my hand in his. I felt his skin shiver slightly at the contact, but he tried to hide it. With great care, he started removing the old bandages from my hand, doing his best to avoid touching my skin directly. He prepared the cotton with saline solution and dabbed it gently over the cuts on my palms. It stung a little, but I did my best to keep from making a face. Once he finished, he wrapped my hands with fresh bandages. But even though he was done, he lingered for a few seconds, silently staring at my hands. Is something wrong? Oh no, don't worry, it's nothing. It's just, you have a lot of scars on your hands. They look old. I lowered my gaze. I didn't like talking about it. It's nothing important. He didn't say anything. Instead of insisting, he simply wrapped my hands in his with a warmth I didn't expect. I think scars are like constellations in the sky. From a distance, they look just like tiny marks. Imperfections on what was once a smooth surface. But if you really look at them, if you truly see them, you can find stories in them. Okay, that's a very pretty sentiment. You can see someone's map. The roads they've traveled, the battles they've won. His fingers trace the back of my bandaged hand with a gentle touch. And no matter how broken they may seem, they're still beautiful. Because they prove that no matter what happened, you're still here. My throat tightened. I didn't know what to say. No one had ever seen my scars as anything other than flaws or signs of weakness. And he looked at them as if they were something precious. Oh, cute! He's so cute. My chest felt strange, as if an invisible knot were tightening around my heart. But for some reason, I didn't want to pull away. Slowly, I placed my hand over his. And even though our skin didn't touch, I could feel the warmth radiating from him. It was a familiar feeling, one I thought that I had lost a long time ago. And for the first time, I felt seen. Not as someone to be fixed, nor as someone to be pitied, just seen for who I was. Gently, he gave my hand a slight squeeze and took a few steps back, helping me to my feet. Hey, I don't even know your name. The boy blinked in surprise before letting out a soft chuckle. You're right, that is a bit of a problem, isn't it? My name's Rin. It's nice to meet you, Yandere. I guess. Rin laughed at my response. My voice had clearly shaken a little. It had been a long time since I felt this nervous. Well, mission accomplished. You know, despite how everything happened, I'm really glad I met you. You're a very beautiful person, Yandere. Aw, thank you. He walked towards the door, but before leaving, he turned to look at me one last time. Take care, Pookie. And with that, he disappeared through the door. The sound of his footsteps slowly faded away until eventually they were gone. And that is the end, and we have gotten all 3 of the CGs. And that is all the branches in Bajo Las Rosas. I hope you guys enjoyed that as much as I did. I thought this was really intriguing. One thing I love is the fact that the MC seems to be hiding something just as much as Rin is hiding something. There is an attachment with the MC to roses. MC also mentions that they have done so many things that they're surprised that they haven't been locked up. So I'm very, very excited to see what happens and how the dynamic develops between Rin and the MC. Rin himself definitely comes off very, very nice and sweet at first, which is kind of like how a lot of Yandere start out as. It's something that we see in a lot of popular Yandere visual novels that we know and love, which I really like because it's kind of like them being disarming and friendly and putting on a mask until it slowly ramps up and the MC doesn't realize until it's too late, right? But this time, the MC also has skeletons in their closet. The MC is very wary about something and is hiding something, so I'm interested to see what happens when both of those worlds collide. I think the flower imagery is gorgeous. I am a big fan of flower imagery. Titan Aram is another game that has done flower imagery very, very well. I will also say Touchstart, specifically Leander's Route, also does flower imagery really, really well as well, which is a really nice way to convey hidden meanings because flower language is obviously a really prevalent thing. And I really like when you look up the definition of certain flowers, you can actually get like the actual meaning for it, which sort of gives another layer to the story that you're experiencing, which is really nice. Obviously red roses in itself means like love and adoration and so on and so forth. So I wonder if like whatever MC has got in their past has something to do with someone that they lost maybe, or someone that they still love. But it'll be really interesting to see how this plays out. Definitely check out this game and play it on your own. It was so much fun to enjoy. Rin is a gorgeous looking love interest. I really like the contrast between the white of his hair and the redness in his eyes and the one streak in his hair as well. I think he's absolutely beautifully designed. In some ways, he kind of gives me like Scar vibes from Wuthering Waves, but I also really like Scar, so I am definitely not complaining. But anyways, thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this as much as I did, and if you did, please leave a thumbs up and subscribe so you don't miss out on the next video. And also if you want access to my exclusive playthroughs, uncut spicy reactions, spicy art, and previews of games that I'm currently making, my Patreon is in the description box below. But thank you so much as always, I adore you guys so much, and until next time, take care.